Good morning, sir. I am Teofilo, Joromo, discussing the CDI 8 and vice and drug education and control. Uh, Vice is immoral conduct or habit, the indulgence of which lead to depravity, weakness, or corruption. Ang vice or a form of character that an individual cannot be resist, that temptation that is always present to lead to the corruption or bias sa pag-lead. Then next is the drug education. Drug education is a stage by stage process to lead to educate person or individual feelings or emotion, knowledge and skills, or especially your brain, to enhance your brain. Then which other individual that may lead to change the attitude that influence behavior or characteristics. Then uh, next is the methods of examination. There are two types of method of examination. First is quantitative examination. What is quantitative examination? Quantitative examination is a test that can estimate the amount of drug in a specimen. It's called a quantitative test. Currently, there are no instant drug of abuse tests that give estimate of the amount of drugs present in the specimen. The only way to get quantitative result is with laboratory test sa quantitative examination through the specimen. Mahibalaan kung gagamit ba ka og drugs through the laboratory test. Then second is qualitative examination. Qualitative examination is drugs screen in use to detect the presence of drug in the body or blood or urine sample may be used. However, urine is the best specimen for broad qualitative screening, as a blood is relatively insensitive for many common drugs, including psychotropic agents, opioids, and stimulants. Sa qualitative examination, use the urine, blood to examine the person who used drugs. O siya gagamit ang sa example sa qualitative examination with sa og specimen. Then qualitative drugs screening used to detect presence drug in the body, blood, urine sample be used. Mao na to siya. Gagamit ang qualitative examination, gagamit og blood or urine inihi sa pag detect sa drugs sa person o sa ka tao. Then ang qualitative examination gagamit siya og specimen. Gamit siya og specimen to test kung sa usa ka person kung gamit ba siya og drugs. And next is steps common to qualitative and quantitative methods. The step common to qualitative examination methods. First is selection of method to be used. Selection to method to be used. What methods, for example, what is method examination to be used to conduct examination? Mo to siya. There are 8 steps common qualitative examinations. Second is physical test. A test determines the physical appearance of the suspected items or drugs. Mo siya examine siya sa lawas. Then sampling. A sample or a mouth sample to be taken to be tested in the laboratory or sa baba, sa laway or ana. Sample preparation, packing and labeling of the sample of the chains of custody and the manner of transportation must be established. Kaya itong gikuha nga sample sa baba or sa kwan, dapat naka-organize, then dadun naka-level, naka-labeling para dadun sa laboratory i-test na dayon. Then next is the chemical test. Test applied a method or test used to detect the presence of drugs. Gamit o ang chemical test, gamit siya chemical to detect the drugs of the person. Second is confirmatory test. Confirmatory examination Confirmatory examination is a result of the confirmatory test. Physical or chemical test must be established to draw a conclusion. Next is calculation of interpretation. Time and date must be established to detect the traits of sample taken. Dapat nakabutang kung unsang oras nagkuha kag sample, time, date, mga siya. Then last is drawing a conclusion, writing report. Interpretation and conclusion must be in a form of written report for future reference. Then what is it best? Next is the two-phase examination. Next is seven categories of drugs. First is herbal drugs. Second is the over-the-counter drugs. Third is prescription drugs. Fourth is unrecognized drugs. Fifth is illicit drugs. Six is tobacco. 7 is alcohol drugs. Alcohol drugs was the last. Balima. First is herbal drugs. What is herbal drugs? Herbal drugs is a type of medicine use roots, stem, leaves, flowers, seeds, and or plants to improve your health, to prevent disease. Ang herbal drugs, ang mga sagbot nga itong ginagamit para nga maulian sa itong mga sakit ng mga nana. It's like mga bayabas. Second is the over-the-counter drugs. What is over-the-counter drugs? Over-the-counter medicine is also known as the OTC or non-prescription medicine. All these terms refer to the medicine that you can buy without a prescription. They are safe and effective when you follow the direction of the label selected by health or care professional. Over the makunay mga paracetamol nga makapalit ka bisag asa basta ano anang ug na kay sakit nga dili ka magkinahanglan og resita sa doktor. Then third is prescription drugs. Prescription drugs is also prescription medicine or prescription medicine is a pharmaceutical drug that legally requires in medical prescription to dispose. Muna siya ang prescription drugs, muna siya ang mga tambal nga itong ginapaliton nga kinahanglan nga naay resita sa doktor or mga pharmacist. Second is fourth is unrecognized drugs. What is unrecognized drugs? Unrecognized drugs. Isang unrecognized drugs. Then unrecognized drugs are chemical products that have psychoactive drug effects but that not are usually considered drugs. These substances are not generally regulated by except so far standards at isang muna siyang mga drugs nga unrecognized drugs nga sama mga example aning unrecognized drugs is just like mga the continuation of the unrecognized drug. Example of unrecognized drugs is just like itong ginainom nga soft drinks, mga rugby, solvent nga ginagamit sa mga bata da sa mga kali-kali mo na ang unrecognized drugs. Next is illicit drugs. Illicit drugs is refer the highly active and illegal substance. Muna siya ang illicit drugs. Example sa illicit drugs is marijuana, heroin. Muna siya ang illicit drugs. Muna siya ang example. And next is the tobacco or tobacco. Tobacco is a plant that contains nicotine, psychoactive drugs that speed up activity in central nervous system but has relaxing effect too. Muna siya ang tobacco. Ang makuha example sa kabalo naman taon sa tobacco. Unay common sa to ang ginagamit mga sigarilyo sulod ana muna ang tobacco. Then makuha po na to na ito matungabil nga nang ga-produce og nicotine. Then atong kanang ang ngipon mura o siya og gataya muna siya ang nicotine nga gigapilit. Then last is the alcohol. Alcohol is a volatile flammable liquid that is produced by the natural fermentation of sugar and is the intoxicating of wine, beer, spirit or other drinks. Sa ang alcohol na itong ginainom like example is tanduay, beer, red horse. Muna siya ang alcohol drugs. Last sa what is medicine versus drugs. Medicine versus drugs is medicine versus drugs asang ko nabandoy man siya dili siya kay kuan. Then medicine is a substance or preparation used to treating disease. Muna siya ang medicine nga ginagamit para nga maka-cure og disease. While drug is any chemical compound either synthesized or laboratory or plant, animal or marine origin which intended to bring change in a normal psychological function of a body. Ang drugs is just like mga ginagamit sa tao nga dili ang dili purpose ang pag cure sa disease nga mga mahimong siyang addictive mahimong addict ang usa ka tawo kung magkuan ng drugs nga pang lang for personal use lang sana then drug abuse. Next is last is drug abuse. Drug abuse or substance abuse refer to the use of certain chemical for the purpose of creating pleasure or pick of the brain. Muna siya ang drug abuse nga ginagamit ang drugs for chemical for the purpose is to creating pleasure or effects of the brain. And substance abuse, also known as a drug abuse, is the use of a drug amounts of the methods which are harmfully to individual or others. Ano sa drugs abuse. Katong mga ginatik na to nga ginapangita na sa tong lawas muna sa drug abuse nga kuan called drug abuse. Then that's all. Thank you and good morning. Sorry for the late oral.